Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Azrin here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds, and welcome to today's YouTube video and, of course, podcast episode. Today I'm continuing the series talking about how I've learned the different foreign languages that I learned. And today we're going to talk about Mandarin. So Mandarin I've been learning since 2014. I took some classes at the university in my city here. And after that I went to Beijing. I had two separate trips, and over those two trips I spent 3 months in total in Beijing. When I was there, I was taking intensive classes. So that meant that I would be taking, depending on what week and depending on which trip you look at in particular, but I would take anywhere from 4 to 7 hours of class every day of the week. I would also do language exchanges. So I would help someone practice English. They'd help me practice Mandarin. I would go to casual meetups and events where I could try and practice with people in a more casual fashion. I often practice with vendors, so maybe salespeople, or in Mandarin specifically, it would be a lot of people in restaurants. In fact, fun fact: the the first time I went to Beijing, I really was a beginner in the language, and so I measured my progress in terms of the complexity and specificity that I could order food in a restaurant. Because initially, I would walk in, and I remember the first time I went. I've told this story before, where I couldn't read the menu. I didn't know how to do anything, so I was just repeating essentially. I think it was the word vegetable over and over in Mandarin, and they just brought me some vegetarian dish. Then I learned how to say rice, noodles, egg, things like that, and I would just walk in and ask for that. Then I learned how to say, "Do you have anything vegetarian?" Then I learned how to say, "I want this dish." So over time I could order more and more and more, and I would actually track my progress in terms of my Mandarin by the complexity and specificity of what I could order. So after those 3 months in Beijing, those are two separate trips, as I said. I took a lot of classes as well. So I was mostly here in Calgary, like in-person classes, but also a lot of online classes too. For example, on italki.com. I spent an additional 3 months in Taipei. I took classes there. I lived with a homestay family there. I taught the homestay family's son English, and that was very helpful to improve my Mandarin. I would try to attend a lot of events and practice with friends. That was a big piece of it. So that immersive piece was a big part of how I learned Mandarin. In Calgary, when I've done my studies here, aside from classes I've been taking, I've also done some pretty non-traditional things to learn Mandarin. For example, at one point, I wanted to create some external accountability for Mandarin, particularly with my reading and my actually particularly my writing, not even reading, but my writing, to write characters by hand. So what I did was I started to offer some classes for beginner Mandarin learners, and I would tell them that I'm going to teach them some basic characters. So it would force me to learn how to write those basic characters. So I did that when I had, I was confident enough to teach absolute beginner Mandarin, and it was free. So I didn't feel bad that I wasn't a fluent speaker, and I was very transparent that I wasn't a fluent speaker. I just told them, I'll make sure I'm confident in the stuff that I'm going to teach you in this lesson. Anything outside that lesson, I might not be able to answer for you. So I would do things like that. I started to organize this meetup every week. It was a Mandarin practice meetup. It was free. I would organize different activities and such we could do in Mandarin. I would facilitate them. I had native speaker volunteers who would help. So if I didn't have answers to questions, I would ask them. So I would learn a lot from doing that. I also made a lot of friends, native speaker friends, by doing that too. And I would hang out with them, and they would help me with Mandarin as well. So I guess as a summary, the amount of Mandarin I've learned so far was done through lots of classes, private and group, 6 months in Mandarin speaking places, taking classes, volunteering, immersing myself in the culture, making friends there, doing some non-traditional things here in Calgary, such as starting a meetup group, offering some free classes, teaching some Mandarin, and then of course self-study. Everyone's doing some form of self-study, right? Music, YouTube videos, following different people um, on YouTube or things like that, looking up words I don't understand. And that's probably a nice summary of how I've learned Mandarin. If you have any questions on that, any comments, whatever it is, feel free to let me know in the comments, or contact me at azren thelanguagenerd.com/contact. That's AZ or ZREN thelanguagenerd.com/contact. Thanks so much. See you next time.